This is Strange Sessions with Jose Barrera. Wow, today I have a show for you. We're going to dive into some Hitler history, secret history, about Hitler's ambitions for greatness in reaching the stars and finding out who's out there. We're going to have a guest here, Steve Looker, to talk about some of the propaganda the Nazis would use to steal your mind, brainwash you into being a Nazi. Did Hitler have aliens helping him? We will find out in this session. Yes, instead of the Twilight Zone theme, tonight we have the alien theme. Wow, that's scary, huh? Okay, hi. We're gonna be listening to some secret history of Hitler and him communicating with aliens, and well, let me just say it like this. I'm gonna start it right now when I get to the video. And I'm going to let you guys listen to it for yourself. And then I'm going to come back and talk about what I think about it.
Since 1950, there were many claims about German developments of revolutionary saucer-shaped crafts able to fly with incredible performances, from a sort of supersonic helicopter to interstellar spaceships. If you are watching this video and it's not on Cyrax and Flyrax's channel, please tell a member of staff. We reserve the right to instruct our lawyers to insist on the death penalty for copyright infringement. These crafts were believed the same flying saucers sighted by many people all around the world since 1947. According to the many enthusiasts of this theory, flying saucers would not be of extraterrestrial origin, but man-made. The German saucers are often known also as the V7 legend. This comes from a reportedly circular aircraft named V7 and claimed to have flown in Prague on February 14, 1945. Latest developments of the legend, including claims of German space journeys to the moon, Mars, and near stars. Also of interest are all those rumors about secret developments of original German projects, Nazi underground bases, and related stories, like Hitler's escape and mysterious U-boats sighted after the end of World War II. There are a variety of theories, including the one that the Nazi UFO were actually back engineered from an alien craft that crashed in Poland in 1938 and was appropriated by the Germans when they invaded. Dr. Hermann Otter, who pioneered rocket design for the German Reich during World War II, and later advanced rocket technology for the American manned space launches, cryptically stated, "We cannot take the credit for our record advancement in certain scientific fields alone. We have been helped." When asked by whom, he replied, "The people of other worlds." In the summer of 1922, in a small barn outside of Munich, the occult and Brill Society set about to create an interdimensional flight machine based upon channeled information received by two mediums, Maria and Seegren. The messages came from the star Aldebaran in the Taurus constellation, 68 light years away. Maria, the sole medium, had been receiving information since 1919 from what she believed were aliens from Aldebaran, but could not translate their language, and strange mental images. Seegren, the real medium, was brought in to help translate these communications and images, which were in the form of a strange circular flight machine with cylindrical power plants beyond all conventional science of the time. Bill and Riddle secretly called this craft the Otherworld Flight Machine. The Real Society then used their members in the German business community to raise funds for the construction of this machine under the code letters JFN. By 1922, parts for the machine began arriving independently from various industrial sources paid in full by the Stahl and Real Society. By 1934, the Real Society had developed its first UFO-shaped aircraft, known as the Real One, which was propelled by an anti-gravity effect. The Society then went on to develop this craft, and later produced the RFC-2. This craft was 16 feet long, and fitted with an improved propulsion system, and for the first time, magnetic impulse steering. Interestingly, when in flight, it reportedly produced color effects, normally associated with UFO sightings. Yet the RFC-2 was largely ignored, with only the SS showing an interest in the Real Society's work. An inner organization of the SS then set up its own SSE4 department to develop new alternative technologies to ensure Germany no longer had to be dependent on external sources of energy, and it began work on its own version of the RFC.
There were thousands of people who fought and died during the last World War, who died never really understanding what they had fought and died for. The deeper truths from World War II were hidden in secret archives because they were too incredible for the masses. Most of the historians who recorded what happened during that global war never revealed most of what had really happened. Yet there were a few historians who glimpsed an incredible truth so amazing that they never...
Okay, we're going to stop it right there and talk about some of this stuff.
wrote it because they...
About 2 minutes here. And I'm going to want to pop out with, first they said, the alien, the way Hitler and his regime got the technology was almost the way that we got Roswell, was they crashed in 1938. I'm thinking here that somehow they landed there, and Hitler, the way he was, I've heard stories of him, he always looked up to the moon and said he wasn't from the earth, he was from some higher place, some other worldly place besides the earth. And he believed that there was people out there before people ever even thought about that. And I'm thinking they sat down and they chatted and they talked about being allies and teaming up, and he kind of took advantage of it. And they liked him, he liked them, so they got along, and they gave him technology, and he gave them, I don't know what he gave him, maybe his soul, but maybe they told him that there was something beyond life. Maybe they told him that this body we're in is just a shell, and once he died, he can be in a like a ghost or a spiritual being, and he would be higher than that. So that's why he was so crazy, and I heard he blew himself up like a suicide. I've heard other things, I'm not sure. Let me hear about how you heard how Hitler died. But we're going to be hearing Steve Kohler or something like that coming up next, and he's going to be talking about propaganda and how the Nazis were the first ones to create propaganda, and that how strong it is, and how they use propaganda. Okay, here we go.
How they used it to facilitate persecution, mass murder, and war. When you think about how quick that Nazi rise to power was, that for most of the period of the Weimar Republic, the Nazi Party was largely a joke.
Ich habe mir ein Ziel gesteckt, nämlich die 30 Parteien aus Deutschland hinauszubringen.
1928, the Nazi Party only had 12 seats in the German parliament out of almost 600. But 1930 gets 107 seats. Then 1932, it more than doubles that. That they learn how to simplify a message, how to play upon voters' emotions, how to reduce very complicated issues to slogans. This is a Braille copy of Mein Kampf.
A Braille copy of Mein Kampf, contemporaneously. Were people reading this?
Yeah, particularly those that were the propagandists. This was kind of the Bible for them, that they would draw on what was said in there. And of course, excerpts of Mein Kampf were used everywhere to justify various policies. But this became a bestseller, and Hitler made a fortune off the royalties from this. And it was published in, I think, 16, 17 different languages. These posters inform us a great deal about Nazi thinking and the ways in which they presented images to the public, whether it's of this kind of strong, heroic figure breaking the chains of slavery, this playing upon dissatisfaction with the status quo, the ways in which they engaged in what today we would call niche marketing. So it's women who work in the home, farmers, workers. Don't tend to associate the Nazis with the word freedom, but they used it endlessly.
What was the sort of methodology behind choosing these bright red colors?
Hitler talked about how in the early 20s he would create posters for his meetings in red because he understood the way it could provoke people, that it was a way to engage an audience, to get them into those beer halls.
So are they consciously drawing from the Bolshevik example?
I mean, when Goebbels talked about the power of film, one of the films that he always cited was Battleship Potemkin.
What's happening now after 1933, 1934?
The Nazis saw the importance of controlling the media, this Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda. It was created as a cabinet-level post for Joseph Goebbels, who also was in charge of the Nazi Party's propaganda apparatus.
So in the state, this means newsreels, films, books, radio, libraries. Here we have the big political show of National Socialism, the two attacks on Jews as both being capitalists and communists and Bolsheviks, confused and silly, but apparently effective. So how does one prepare the population for this kind of machinery of destruction?
There is an effort made to both present the Jews as a real physical threat to Germany, and also to identify Jews as being the powers behind the enemy. They would show these Soviet atrocities against the local population, and then identify the Jews as the perpetrators of that.
Hi, this is Jose Barrera with the Strange Sessions. We're going to take a break and we're going to let you listen to Strange Planets by Homeboy Sandman. When we come back, we're going to have some more strangeness coming out with Hitler and aliens. We're going to play a few minutes of that, and we're going to have the end of the show with a few words. Thank you for listening to The Strange
she says, call Cubans. The boys bully the girls, the pale skins bully the browns, who were once service the clowns because of their crowns. People now vote in the clown and give them the clout. People stuck butt on the couch, head in the clouds. You should see these husbands that these women allow. People don't live in the now, they live in the now. It takes way more muscles when you muster a frown than it takes face muscles when you muster a smile. But everybody doesn't mind putting muscle to use. That will move a muscle unless it's in the suit of the green or blue in the suit. Of course you see the green and abuse from a distance, all you can see is the green and the blue. It go P-L-A-N-E-C-E-A-R-C, H-days R-R-C, evenings and hockey. P-L-A-N-E-C-E-A-R-C, H-days R-R-C, evenings and hockey. P-L-A-N-E-C-E-A-R-C, H is funny, strange and funny. Yo, what is up? It's not even certain if we mammals or not. See, mammals aren't monogamous, humans are hot. Humans and humans bump into other humans a lot. They must prefer screwing instead of the human they got.
Why did Hitler lose the war when he was backed by the Illuminati and the reptiloids? Hitler's visions of grandeur and power, under the influence of the LSD he received from the Sandoz labs and the cocaine he regularly partook in, went literally to his head. As Hitler spoke, he was trembling in a strange, triumphant ecstasy. The man who had no fear of the military might of America and the Soviets combined used to tremble in fear at the thought of the insectoids, greys, and reptiloid clones who guided him and came to visit. He was paranoid of letting down the masters from beyond, who gave him orders as he pursued what he believed was his divine mission to create the foundations for the age of Aquarius. Every battle and every political action was carefully timed by Nazi astrologers and psychics who had been trained in Tibet by the lamas they had studied with. People close to Hitler reported he often awoke in the night screaming and in convulsions. He called for help and was paralyzed, similar to many thousands of UFO abduction cases decades later. Hitler would then stand swaying and dazed, look around the room as if he were lost, uttering, "He is here, he is here, it is he has come for me." There, over in the corner, he is there. Who was he who had come for Hitler? Perhaps the insectoids, greys.
Get the not-to-be-missed New Believers 10 CD box set of the teachings of the Roswell alien. You will soon start to rise to a level above that which is human, even after only listening to CD1. Learn about the secrets to self-improvement, psychic powers, telepathy, eternal youth, astral projection abilities, mind control powers, faith healing, remote viewing, psychokinesis, and extrasensory perception. Start collecting now before they sell out, and there is only 49 more to get the complete collection. Order your box set now on the New Believers hotline, not for sale to under 5-year-olds or NASA employees. Calls charged at triple premium rates.
Who found it more expedient to have the Nazis perform their genetic experiments from them before infections, which are more difficult, came into popularity. Perhaps reptiloid aliens who made a treaty with the leader of the Nazis and planted their secret underground bases in Germany decades before they did the same drama in the United States. And perhaps the invading Orion Empire of 50,000 years are war trying to reclaim the empire they had lost on our planet during the fall of Atlantis during the First Intergalactic War. There is considerable evidence that the insectoids, greys, and reptiloids were trying to use the military might of the Nazis and the Axis to take our planet away from its Syrian landlords who have secretly controlled the United States and the Allies via the Illuminati. In the intergalactic war involving Atlantis and Lemuria, the Orion Empire, the insectoid and reptiloid alliance, and the Pleiadian United Federation of planets had fought each other on Earth. The insectoids and reptiloids, even after losing Atlantis, were victorious when they set up their new planetary capital at Luxor, with their interplanetary White House and the Great Pyramid. This golden age of dynasties left reptiloid Egypt in mystery schools, the Knights of Templar, the Twilight Knights, the Masons, and hundreds of other secret societies that all nobility and regality were initiated into under the oaths of the secrets of the blood codes of death. Most of the initiates in the secret fraternities never knew their masters and gods were extraterrestrials. The high priests and the kings and the queens who learned the secret never revealed it. Executions were the penalties. During the times of the Old Testament, the different alien nations fought again for the control of the earth in the Second Intergalactic War. Here, once again, the Reptiloids won. The Pleiadians again had to flee in the centuries before Christ. Insectoid controlled Egypt and Mesoamerica. During the Middle Ages of kingdoms and feudal lands, the Reptiloid masters established, through channeling, many conflicting kingdoms, religions, and religions divided into warring factions to keep humanity divided and weak, knowing that a united and strong humanity could expose and stop the Reptiloid control. By creating ignorance, war between earthlings over religion and land, and conflicting philosophies, humanity would weaken a planetary basis and never become a threat to the control from another planet. Hitler became so power-hungry and mad that his lust for power limited his ability to reason. He also had a well-documented case of syphilis that damaged his brain. His vegetarian diet did not stop his diseases due to his high stress. In 1944, the Nazis were testing flying saucers. The blueprints and films were captured when the Allies raided a German rocket base in 1945, yet the saucers had disappeared. Hitler could have won, but he went mad. He began to believe that under the influence of the Reptiloids, he was more powerful than the Illuminati. And when he invaded France and threw the leaders of the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, in jail, and tried to personally take over the Illuminati, they retaliated by pulling the economic plug on the Nazis. During the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, after never losing his...
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about all that crazy stuff we just heard. Well, that's the end of the show. But I got a few little things to say. I think Hitler could have really took over the world and really became somebody if this is all true. If those one aliens in the grays didn't think that the power was going to his head, because in the last notes they say, you know how Hitler just went outrageous with power and he thought he was the greatest person ever step on earth. So maybe they felt threatened, so they took Hitler out, or had Hitler take himself out, if these aliens are so powerful. Well, thank you for listening to this session, this strange session with me. Have a good day, good night, good evening, or whatever.